They say you should learn something new every day. Like how you should only drink Jägermeister at 0 degrees Fahrenheit, ice cold. Like those frozen cavemen they find, which makes you wonder, what would a caveman think of Jägermeister? Well, if you served it warm, he'd probably throw it in your face, say, "Unga boonga," and storm off. And nobody wants that. So drink it cold or not at all. Jägermeister. Damn, that's cold. Drink responsibly. Jägermeister liqueur, 35% alcohol by volume, imported by Mast Jägermeister, U.S., White Plains, New York.
Last night, you spent 2 hours deciding what to wear to the party. This morning, it'll take you 2 minutes to list it on Depop and make your money back. Just grab your phone, snap a few photos, and we'll take care of the rest. The sheer dress and platform heels you'll never wear again? There's a birthday girl searching for them right now. Your one-and-done look is about to pay for your next night out. Or at least the ride home. Your style can make you cash. Start selling on Depop, where taste recognizes taste.
We're back. And when you hear that music, you know that it's time to enter the dojo. So welcome back once again to another episode of the Devy Dojo. I'm with my co-host, Chris the Card Man, the Devy Shifu, as always. And look, we made it through Dynasty Rookie season for 2026. And Chris, I don't know about you, but I hope that I never have to see another 2026 prospects tape again. I've been ready for a couple months now. Let's move on to 2027, right? And after I've been in all these drafts, I'm like, yeah, you know, there's a definitive tier break. And it's like, once you get to a certain point, it's like, I just want out. In a couple drafts that you and I were in today, man, even just to move a couple spots, just throw me a third in 2027, even make it 2028. I'm cool. I'm ready to cash out on these picks and invest into the next class because I think it's pretty deep. And I think that we're going to show you that tonight. But before we get into that, Shifu, I'm going to kick it to you and go over to some housekeeping items.
Yeah, absolutely, man. The rookie drafts have been killing me. I still have many to go because I'm in like 35 to 40 dynasty leagues. And, you know, the ones that kicked off right after the draft, I started to get a feel, and I was feeling good about sneaking in some of those guys. Justin Jolie, specifically, your boy from Denver. I was getting him so late because Sleeper ADP didn't have him updated. He was still way down at the bottom. So I was grabbing him in the 4th round. You can't do that anymore, especially in TE premium leagues. But I was having a blast taking advantage of those early ones. And now that we're into like actual updated ADP, I'm getting bored with this class because it is ugly. It's really like if you're not in the top 5, maybe 6 picks, you're just like trying to trade, take whatever value you can get to trade back, try to pick up some future picks. I'm with you on that. But yes, we are very excited because this is our first episode as an independent podcast. We have nothing but love for Fantasy Sports Advice Network. They've helped us kick off our first year of Devy Dojo, and we appreciate them, but we've made the decision to go independent and bring the best content to you guys directly, and we appreciate all the support that you guys give us. So this will be featured on audio the same way you can find us all the time, and it will be featured on a brand new YouTube channel, the Devy Dojo channel, and we're looking forward to seeing you guys there. So make sure that you get in there, interact with us, hit the like button, subscribe, chat in the comments, all that fun stuff. And we'll surely do some live podcasts and stuff like that as well, so you can get in there and interact with us. And, of course, join our Discord where many of you already are. We appreciate you. But without further ado, we will dive into the show today, which is a way too early 2027 mock draft. So we're just going to list off our top 6 picks and then discuss those kind of in a big chunk here because we have 3 rounds coming at you. 101, we have Jeremiah Smith, the Ohio State wide receiver. 102, we have Arch Manning, the Texas quarterback. 103, his teammate, Cam Coleman, the Texas wide receiver. 104 was Bryant Wesco, the wide receiver out of Clemson. 105 is Kewan Lacy, the running back out of Ole Miss. And 106 is the new transfer, Darian Mensah, going to Miami. What stands out to you here, Devy Sensei?
I mean, right off the rip there, two quarterbacks, but Darian Mensah at 106. Now that's a guy that I've been pumping up pretty heavily. In C2C formats, I was in on him during his time at Tulane. He's been a C2C darling. So if you played those formats, you love getting guys like this who come in late. And now transferring from Duke, where he broke out last season, he's just primed for a really big season. I actually love this selection here because I anticipate him to get a lot of that national exposure and just let it rip to Malachi Toney. They brought his teammate from Duke, Cooper Barkate, wide receiver as well. They got Omarion Wingo, a talented freshman. They got Mark Fletcher, the running back. Just a lot of really good weapons. And I not only expect him to compete for a Heisman, but I think really put his name front stage and center for the NFL draft class in what appears to be right now a pretty loaded draft class. But this is notable right here because he's taken ahead of a guy named Dante Moore, who we'll talk about a little later. But so he would be quarterback 2 in this draft class. And I like that because I like Darian Mensah. But how about you, Chris? Did anything stand out to you about these first 6 picks?
Yeah, Mensah is a fun pick there. A little higher than I would have taken him, but I do like him. Obviously, the whole thing earlier this season was Miami has been really elevating their quarterbacks. The transfers that come in, they've turned into really good draft prospects, including Carson Beck, who, this was a weak class for quarterbacks. I think he ended up going in the 3rd round. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the 3rd round. But he was really, really hyped up early in the season as a potential early round pick. And 3rd round's nothing to scoff at. So they've turned now Cam Ward into a 101 as a transfer. And they've made Carson Beck a NFL draft pick and possibly the future of the Arizona Cardinals. And now Darian Mensah, who has, in my opinion, more pedigree than those two coming into Miami. He's a big option for them, and he should do exceedingly well down there. A lot of these guys I don't want to talk about too much because, like Jeremiah Smith, Arch Manning, Cam Coleman, we've talked about those guys before. Bryant Wesco is one of the guys at Clemson who we feel like was kind of lowered a little bit because of Cade Klubnik's performance last season and Clemson's overall season as a whole. They were much like my Nittany Lions. They came in extremely high ranked and had a really brutal year. So the entire Clemson dynamic is kind of lowered at this point, but he's still a highly talented receiver, and he's not really dipped too much in Devy and C2C value. As a result of that, which is why he went 104. Kewan Lacy makes a lot of sense as the first running back off the board. Again, we talked about him a whole lot. I had to put a fun little picture on here for those of you watching on YouTube. I was updating all of the headshots, or not all of them, but some of them, and I saw that when I typed in Kewan Lacy, and I was like, I got to do it. He's showing off his grills, and that's the kind of guy he is. He's going to bring his swagger to the field. He's one of the most exciting running backs in college football at this point. So it makes sense for him to be the first running back taken off of this potential way too early 2027 draft.
I don't know that we have an Ashton Genty or Jeremiah level of running back in this class, but there's a lot, like the depth of this class is something that I really like. And, Kewan Lacy, pretty spirited debate between who's RB1 in this class. So, right now we have him as a RB1 according to this mock.
Moving on, we have 107, Nick Marsh, the transfer from Michigan State to Indiana to be Josh Hoover's number 1 pass catcher. I'm really excited about him. Ahmad Hardy staying at Mizzou as the running back. Dante Moore, Oregon's quarterback, who I'm surprised actually didn't go a little bit higher. Ryan Coleman Williams, who has now added an extra name to his game to try to rebrand a little bit after kind of a brutal 2025 for him. Trey'Dez Green, tight end out of LSU, and Jayden Baugh, running back out of Florida. This was where we start to get into a little bit more of the nuance of this projected 2027 class. Some of these guys maybe could have went a little bit higher. Some of these guys maybe didn't need to go as high as they did. So I'm curious what your thoughts are.
I'm with you. I think Dante Moore is kind of a surprise being that low. I would say that as of right now, he's probably the consensus quarterback too. I'm of the opinion that while I do like him, I do think that Mensah right now, just with this offense, I think that he's they're both really good at pushing the ball vertically down the field. But I just think that Shannon Dawson and that the offensive coordinator from Miami is going to call a lot of those explosive down the field shots, more so than what we're going to see from Oregon. So I'm projecting in how draft analysts are going to be. Dante Moore has the recruiting pedigree. Obviously, Darian Mensah was just a 3-star recruit. Wasn't even the initial starter at Tulane, had to sit and then earn his way up, transferred to Duke, really broke out, and now going to Miami. But he's got a pretty extensive production profile already. And a thing that I like is being able to take on these new offensive systems and learn. So I'm okay with this selection here. Now, I should say that this was a mock draft done between you, me, and Ben of the Devy Dojo. So not all of these picks are yours and mine, but I did like that there. I think it's pretty ballsy and planting your flag there. But I've talked about Nick Marshall a lot, so I won't touch on him too much. But going to Indiana, man, he's followed this route that Kurt Cignetti has just laid out for everybody, that come transfer this system, you're going to get the best coaching, you're going to play with discipline, and you're going to be ready to compete on Saturdays. And what a way to potentially elevate your draft stock. He's coming in with fellow transfer in the quarterback position in Josh Hoover. And they got another pretty good wide receiver there that we'll talk about a little later, but really good offensive system. I think that he can do what Elijah Surratt did in that offense, which is going to be his role. But I think being more athletic, just even a better overall, just wide receiver, he's going to be able to put up some numbers and just really elevate that draft stock. So very excited about him. And then Chris, I'm looking at Trey'Dez Green there. This would be tight end 1 off the board. And a lot of us playing tight end premium formats, man. So pretty exciting guy at 6'7", but I'm anxious to hear your thoughts on Trey'Dez Green there. Who would be the tight end 1?
Yeah, without a doubt. So the way we did this, as you mentioned, it was just the 3 of us, me, you, and Ben. I had the 102 pick. So it was a cycle of 3 of us just going over and over again, which means that I took in this round Arch Manning, Kewan Lacy, Ahmad Hardy, and Trey'Dez Green. And Trey'Dez Green is easily, I thought this was good value for him, because if we're seeing Sadiq, and I know this is a weaker class, Sadiq's coming off the board at about 106, 107 in tight end premium leagues, which I think a lot of people play at this point. Sadiq is not as good of a receiver as Trey'Dez Green is. Trey'Dez Green brings a bigger bodied combination, and I know that everybody liked what Sadiq did at the combine as far as setting records with his speed and all that. But when you look at the underlying metrics, there's a lot of reason to be worried about Sadiq in the future. And that's not just because he landed at the Jets, which, the Jets aren't a great place to project a tight end to get a ton of passes. So it's kind of tough that the better prospect in the last class, or at least consensus better prospect in the last class, landed with a not great offense. But Trey'Dez Green, he could land anywhere at this point. So it's kind of like that situation of, do you want the box or do you want this? Like the Family Guy meme. But Trey'Dez Green has that receiving ability that I don't see out of Kenyon Sadiq. I think Sadiq's a very nice tight end. I'm not going to knock him. Easy top 15 dynasty tight end, possibly top 10 if we start to see things moving out of him early on this year. But Trey'Dez Green, for me, feels like a guy who's going to be a plug and play top 10 dynasty tight end as soon as he gets in the league, just because of his receiving ability. He can go up there and get it. He's a classic tight end in the red zone where you can trust him as a target when things start to get a little bit hectic. He's a little bit better in contested catch situations. I like his route running ability a little bit more. It's going to be an issue this year just for him to develop with a new quarterback and a new coaching staff. So there's going to be some of that playbook, new playbook he has to learn, a new quarterback he has to develop a rapport with. But I don't have any worries about that because it's a very good quarterback and it's a very good coaching staff. And I think his talent overall prevails. So I felt like 111 was a really good value for me to take him. I was a little bit shocked that he had gone behind some of these guys, specifically Ryan Williams, who I felt was a little bit of a reach, and that was one of your picks.
Yeah, it was. And I mean, Trey'Dez Green was definitely on the board, and at 6'7", you think, he could be that vertical offensive weapon or chess piece for Lane Kiffin there at LSU. He's never really had a tight end like that. I know that that's something that Lane Kiffin's always wanted, going back to him recruiting Michael Trigg to USC. But Ryan Coleman Williams was my pick there. And listen, I understand the drop in the bad 2025 that Ryan Williams had. I believe over 7 drops on the season to go along with the 7 drops that happened in his freshman season. He just kind of has those forgiving traits. So when he was pirouetting and spinning and doing this poetic performance against Georgia on national TV as a 17-year-old true freshman, you kind of forgot about some of those things because that's what forgiving traits are. You forget about some of those knocks. This past season, he didn't really have those big highlight plays. He had those drops. You started worrying about the trust and the timing between he and Ty Simpson. But now, man, look, he's 19. He's not a little kid anymore. He's still a young pup, but he's grown up there now. He's gotten engaged. He's changed his name to really honor his mother's side of the family. That's why he's Ryan Coleman Williams now. And you know what? He's beefed up a little bit, and he's really taken on, supposedly, according to camp reports out of the spring, he's really taken on a leadership role. Like Ty Simpson even said it at his pro day. He said Ryan Williams is top dog in there now. And he made some plays during the A game and leading up to that in the spring camp practices where, catching passes from Kewan Russell, he was making some highlight plays out there. And he's always been a little bit of a dog out there for me. So I'm pretty excited. And I think that he's a good candidate to really see his value bounce back. Because this time last year, Chris, you and I were both saying he was a purple belt tier, like he was Devy wide receiver too for us and most people. The talent is still there, and I think that this year provides an opportunity for him to really elevate that stock. Now, whether or not that happens, a lot is going to determine on the quarterback play, whether it's going to be Kewan Russell, who we think will win, or maybe Austin Mack winning that battle out there. We don't know. But somebody that I've also been very high on, and my personal running back one, was Ahmad Hardy, Chris. And I'm looking at Ahmad Hardy and Jayden Baugh taken there at 112. I mean, between RB1, 2, and 3 has been a debate for a lot of people. You could probably ask 5 people and get some different variation of the order. But Ahmad Hardy, to me, is the RB number 1. And he doesn't have a good extensive receiving profile. That's not how he's going to beat you. But dude runs with power. Like he reminds me of Mark Ingram out there, really, with his body type. The ability to just crush a defender's soul, like I've said numerous times. He's a lot of fun. He led the entire Power 4 in missed tackles forced in the 2025 season. Now he returns to a really good Mizzou offensive line and running scheme. In general, like he's going to be productive in your college formats. And I think that, again, he's going to get really steamed up and be a first-round Dynasty rookie pick. I don't know if he's going to be a first-round NFL draft pick, but I definitely think that we got 2 and potentially 3 running backs that have the potential to be late first-round picks in the NFL draft, or at least get that day 2 second-round draft cap.
Yeah, and both Kewan, Lacy, and Ahmad Hardy were my picks in this draft. And I was debating at 105 just taking Ahmad Hardy because I really, really liked him. I have them both pretty equally ranked so far in my upcoming running back ranks. I like Kewan Lacy because I feel like he has that overall well-rounded profile that fits slightly better in the modern NFL as far as pass catching and doing the dirty work and all that fun stuff that coaches like. So I think he's got the highest ceiling, but I think Ahmad Hardy really broke the mold a little bit when we talk about guys who transferred from smaller schools into higher schools. He came in the SEC and absolutely dominated. You talked about his missed tackles forced, which obviously is a stat that we love at the Devy Dojo, and he annihilates that year in and year out. He did the same thing at Mizzou that he did when he was at a lower conference school, LA Monroe, but he also had 1,600 yards rushing last year, which is just phenomenal. And he did that with kind of a rotating quarterback room. Like there was not a lot of help with him on the offensive or passing side of the ball as far as consistency goes. And they had a couple guys that were decent. My old quarterback, Bo Pribula, had some nice run early in the year, and it just didn't work out long term. But Ahmad Hardy has been the consistency on that team. He didn't transfer after this year. I'm sure he got money to try to potentially go somewhere else. And he said, I'm sticking around. I'm going to do it. I'm going to run it back. And I think that's the best choice for him because he absolutely smashed this year. But it was tough for me to get the decision between him and Lacy. And I'm glad that I just nabbed both in this mini rookie mock that we did. The last guy that you had just briefly mentioned was Jayden Baugh, who's a guy you've been high on. I was surprised that you didn't take him at 110 over Ryan Coleman Williams.
Yeah, and I'm still really high on him. I did just do a pretty extensive film study on him from this last season, and there were some things that had me a little concerned. I didn't get the performance I was quite expecting because of course, little secret around here, we are working on something called the Blade model, and as of right now, our model really, really likes Jayden Baugh. I liked what I saw on broadcast. But, he has some vision issues that I've seen. He really just needs to learn to press the hole and run downhill as a physical runner. For a guy who's pretty athletic and 231 pounds, he likes to make defenders miss that lateral agility a little bit too much. Whereas I'm like, dude, put your shoulder down, knock an MFer into the ground and keep it moving. I did share a clip on Twitter showing his lack of vision where he presses the line, he starts making his cut, and he sees the linebacker coming this way, and he cuts inexplicably into defensive contact instead of just, continuing to run north where he had great the offensive line got great push on the run. He could have had an easy touchdown, and instead it was a no gain on a key third and goal. So have some slight concerns, but his athleticism is amazing. I think that he's a lot faster than people are probably going to anticipate for a back of his size, and he's an underrated receiver out of the backfield. So I absolutely love Jayden Baugh. If I'm picking in my Dynasty rookie drafts and I got my selection between these guys, between Ryan Coleman Williams, Trey'Dez Green, and Jayden Baugh, I'm going to be very, very happy. So this is a very solid first round as of now. I would like to just add the caveat that, of course, things are going to change, but I think that as of right now, with where we are and how as Devy players we're able to keep such a tap on these guys at all times because we're always watching, I think that this is a pretty solid first round. And again, if you are listening to this on Player Profiler's audio feed, you're not seeing the video that we have on Spotify. So what you need to do is you need to go out and search Devy Dojo, go to our main Spotify page, and you can see this wonderful board here on the graphic, and of course on our new YouTube channel. But Chris, before we move on, go ahead and for the audio listeners, go ahead and recap the first round one more time.
Absolutely. So 101, Jeremiah Smith. 102, Arch Manning. 103, Cam Coleman. 104, Bryant Wesco. 105, Kewan Lacy. 106, Darian Mensah. 107, Nick Marsh. 108, Ahmad Hardy. 109, Dante Moore. 110, Ryan Coleman Williams. 111, Trey'Dez Green. And 112, Jayden Baugh. A nice star-studded first round. And we will go on to round two, where we had the top six being 201, Julian Sayin, the Ohio State quarterback. 202, Nate Frazier, the running back out of Georgia. 203, Isaac Brown, running back Louisville. 204, Trinidad Chambliss, the quarterback at Ole Miss. 205, Mario Craver, wide receiver out of Texas A&M. And 206, Bryant Wesco's teammate, TJ Moore, wide receiver from Clemson. And I will say this was where it started to get crazy because we were doing this just kind of through text. And I beefed up, man. I wanted to take Isaac Brown over Nate Frazier, but I was dealing with my 2-year-old kid just kicking me in the balls over and over all day today and screaming in my face and drooling on me and all the things that small kids do. So I like Nate Frazier. I have them both very close, obviously, in rankings. But when you're just kind of going free will there and you're just like, I'm going to take this guy and keep the draft moving, I probably would have taken Isaac Brown over Nate Frazier because I really enjoy Isaac Brown's high speed ability. We have compared him to Devon Achane, as I'm sure other people have because of his small stature, but he does have that electric, explosive ability. And I think for that reason, there's, a little bit of reason to be tepid on him. If you're not into those guys who don't have that workhorse ability, it's tough for those kind of guys to break through in the NFL and become workhorses like Devon Achane has. But when it happens, and he's really electric, man. He's a fun running back to watch.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? I don't even mind the Nate Frazier pick because he's still got the pedigree. He's still got an enormous amount of talent. He's just splitting carries there in the Georgia backfield with Chauncey Bowens. And they've just both last year kind of, as far as efficiency, they were pretty even there. And, the way Mike Bobo, the offensive coordinator for Georgia, likes to run that offense, he likes that committee right now. Not a standout at anything that I really saw from last season. So that's why I wouldn't have taken him here. I don't mind the pick, maybe just a little higher than I would have taken. You touched on Isaac Brown. Everybody knows I love him, man. I've been an Isaac Brown fan since day one. But looking at this right here, these first six picks, we got 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, and 2 wide receivers. I want to touch on the 2 quarterbacks here, taking the first one at 201, Julian Sayin. This was my pick. And I'm not like a big time Julian Sayin fan. I think in the Devy community, he's held in somewhat high regard because he was productive as a young starter. He's got great weapons out there. It's going to help him to build that profile, the production profile. I mean, he was already a Heisman candidate this last season. But more so than just having the weapons, how Julian Sayin won was through elite efficiency. I heard the guys at PFF on their podcast comparing him to Drew Brees with his quick release and just pinpoint accuracy, the way that he is consistently able to hit his offensive targets in stride and in rhythm. And that is huge. It goes beyond just having Jeremiah Smith out there and, the freshman Chris Henry Jr., last season, Carnell Tate and all the endless amounts of these wide receivers that they've pumped out. He's winning with his accuracy. He does have some flaws in his game, right? We always talk about this, Chris. Pressure breaks pipes and it breaks young quarterbacks. And we saw that in the college football playoffs with Julian Sayin, going against some really good defenses there to close out his season. He really struggled with that inside pressure. But some of the best quarterbacks that I've ever seen in the NFL struggle with inside pressure. So I try not to knock him too much. I do admit that he could rise just being a quarterback and a big name. But as of right now, where he is in his development, I think that a second-round pick is very solid, and I would be very happy to have him. But looking at the other quarterback there, Chris, I don't know how you feel about Trey'Dez Chambliss, but of course he was the best story in college football in the SEC last season, transferring up, from Division II football to play in the SEC when he wasn't ever expected to be the starter. Of course, Austin Simmons went down. Insert Trey'Dez Chambliss en route to a long, deep playoff run. Trey'Dez Chambliss. Questions are going to be about his size, Chris. Are you worried at all, or do you think that he's good enough to make it in the NFL like he did the SEC?
When your company is growing fast, order fulfillment can make or break your success. ShipStation's intelligence-driven platform brings rate shopping, inventory and returns, warehouse systems, and comprehensive analytics all in one place, saving customers 15 hours per week on fulfillment. And you can set up time-saving automations. ShipStation picks the best carrier for you, finds the best rate, prints the labels in bulk. Then you can share tracking details with customers. That alone cuts customer service inquiries by 12%. That's why 1 million businesses have trusted ShipStation. Because before ShipStation, I spent hours tracking orders, following up with customers. Now I have cut that time in half. I can actually focus on football. So try ShipStation for free for 60 days with full access to all features. No credit card needed. Go to ShipStation.com and use code PLAYER for 60 days for free. 60 days gives you plenty of time to see exactly how much time and money you're saving on every shipment. That's ShipStation.com, code PLAYER. ShipStation.com, code PLAYER.
I'm always a little bit worried about size, especially when it comes to quarterbacks, but I'm not too concerned when you have guys like Trey'Dez who have just been slinging the thing. And that's what's beautiful about this selection at 204 and about us potentially watching him here in the 2026 season is he's going to really have to show it, right? There's going to be, it's kind of like baseball in that way, right? You see guys dominate for 1 year and then the tape's out and then they realize they can't dominate people the way they did. And do they adjust or do they put up? And he's going to have a really big opportunity to put up. And I hope he does because he literally sued to get back to college football instead of going to the draft, which I'm not sure was a good idea for him in this week draft class. I feel like he would have been selected semi-relatively, or like he might have been the Carson Beck pick for all we know. But he sued, he won, he's making a ton of money to go back to Ole Miss, and we're going to get the enjoyment of watching him here for another year. And I think he can do it because he came in the heart of SEC conference football and really showed us what he's made of. As far as NFL goes, there's going to be a lot of bigger guys in front of him. So I don't want to put an entirely high ceiling on him as far as a dynasty projection. But I think that there's a real shot that if he can show what he's worth in this 2026 season, he's going to get a chance to get drafted relatively high. I'm not saying he's a future first rounder, but I'm saying this as a way too early 2027 mock. This is a great place to take him at 204. So Chambliss has a real chance to become one of the higher taken quarterbacks in the next draft. But as you've already seen, we've taken a ton of quarterbacks in this mock already, and there's going to be a few more coming up as well. So it really just comes down to what do you have? What are you made of here in 2026? In college football play, and how high can you get your draft stock? Yeah. But I didn't mind that pick at all. One of my guys, Mario Craver, is who I took at 205. I've been really high on him, and we're talking about size, right? So his size is diminutive, man. He's a very small guy. Mario Craver's been absolutely dominant in the slot. The underlying metrics are beautiful, but what really stands out to me is his ability on tape to just explode. He looks so much faster than the guys that he's playing against. It's like as soon as he gets the ball, he's a threat to go home. He's absolutely tough to bring down from his size standpoint. He plays a lot bigger than he actually is because of his twitchiness and because of his explosiveness. So I've been pretty high on him. That's why I took him here at 205. I think he's exciting to project as a potential NFL draft pick. The problem is he's just undersized. So I'll kick the same question back to you. Are you worried at all about Mario Craver's size in the NFL?
Absolutely. It's the number one reason why I fade him for these dynasty rookie drafts. Excuse me. Now, in college fantasy, right? I love him. I think that Mario Craver is electric. He's so much fun to watch out there. And if you're tracking those college fantasy points, he puts a lot of points in your lineup. However, translating to the NFL, man, I've seen this story so many times. Height isn't the thing that bothers me. When we talk about undersized, we're talking about 165 pounds soaking wet. And I mean, it wasn't that long ago we saw a guy like Tank Dell, tearing up the NFL, displaying good chemistry with the young CJ Stroud. His knee went out. Like it's a big man's game. It's a physical game. And I don't know if his body can last. All the talent in the world, very electric. He's a dog. We talked about in the game versus Notre Dame. We were just talking about it in the Discord this week. The electric play that he made, it was just a quick little flat route thrown by Marcel Reed, the quarterback there for Texas A&M. And he's able to go along the sideline, bounce off of tackle, make a defender miss, and en route to a long touchdown. He's explosive. His production profile is going to be great, but his size profile, it leaves a lot to be desired. So for that reason, I'm out. There's a lot of hype around this guy, and I'm more than willing to fade. In round, like right here at 206, we had TJ Moore, wide receiver from Clemson, taken right after him. More of your traditional body type. He gets a lot of hate, I think, because I need him to be more physical. Like when I watch TJ Moore, I'm just like, man, I'm not sure that you really want it at times, but all the talent in the world, he still had over 800 receiving yards last season in a down year for Clemson where Cade Klubnik was injured. Just the whole team around Clemson last year just really suffered. But, playing with a talent in Bryant Wesco, who was injured as well. And then Antonio Williams, who was injured in and out this season, and he got drafted. That's an NFL level guy. He displays talent out there. He's going to get a real shot this season, whether Visenya or whoever is going to win the quarterback position battle for Clemson. That's going to be my biggest thing, is who's throwing the quarterback or who's throwing the ball to these guys. So we will see, but he comes in with that high-end recruiting pedigree, all the talent in the world, right? I still like him. I think that 206 is a good value for where he is right now, and it feels like that's a good reflection of his current dynasty value, where he still has that name value. His value might not have really dropped. He's just kind of right there in the middle. So a big, big year for TJ Moore.
Yeah, and honestly, I might have taken him over Ryan Coleman Williams. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Coleman, I don't want to go back to that, but he showed me a little bit more even in a down year than Coleman did for me, and Coleman Williams did for me in a down year. So interesting pick at 206. I do think it was good value. I just had to stand on business with my guy, Mario Craver, there at 205. But moving on to the next 6 picks, we have 207, Justice Haynes, the running back transfer to Georgia Tech. 208, we have the second Texas wide receiver taken off the board in Ryan Wingo. 209, Eric Singleton Jr., who has now transferred to Florida. 210, we have the replacement for Kenyon Sadiq, Jamari Johnson at Oregon as tight end. At 211, we have Charlie Becker, a guy you alluded to earlier, a wide receiver in Indiana. And at 212, we have his quarterback, freshly transferred from Texas Christian University to become the new quarterback of the reigning champions of the nation, Josh Hoover.
Yes, sir. And look, Chris, I really like this second round. Like, again, coming off these 2026 rookie drafts, this is about the point, man, where it's looking pretty bleak. And we're like, just get me the hell out of this draft. Give me whatever to get out. Here right now, as it stands for 2027, you're starting to see the hype, because we got right here another former star, Justice Haynes, taken 207. And that's been one of our guys, man. We've been rocking with him for a minute. You talked about standing on business with Mario Craver. We've done this exact same thing with Justice Haynes, going back to his days at Alabama when he wasn't getting, the volume that he probably should have gotten, to his big time breakout at Michigan before the injury. This dude, every single game that he played in, over 100 yards rushing. And it wasn't because of just the great Michigan offensive line. This dude has home run ability, to the point where our friend Chev termed the nickname for him Home Run Haynes. Very electric. I like those running backs. I've talked about him a lot, so I love this value for him. It's kind of like, why we forget about Justice, man? Like, because he down tiered a little bit, because he entered the transfer portal and went to Georgia Tech. Is that it? I think for a lot of people it is, but I don't understand it, because Georgia Tech has a really good running offensive system, and it's his hometown, man. And he's talked about, like, they're going to use me in the receiving game more. Something you had talked about a lot We've talked about it on a lot of episodes that although he wasn't getting a lot of receiving work at Michigan, he's definitely got the talent to do it. He can at least take a little dump off or a screen. Like, he can get more involved in the receiving game than he was at that bland offensive system that we saw in Michigan. So don't really blame him for leaving. But Ryan Wingo is a guy that I've been back and forth in, man. Like, his tape was all over the place last season. Ryan Wingo really struggled with some drops too, some passes from March Manning that he really should have caught. I think that it was a product of him being relegated to a role that wasn't complimentary of his skill set. Now, you think Ryan Wingo would be this big vertical complement. He's not always that, man. He's like a space guy. Like, get the ball in his hands and let him work. He has this nice transition from speed to power, but they're having him sometimes at X, and that's just not him. And now with Cam Coleman coming in, my hope and my thought, my projection for Ryan Wingo is that he's going to be in a role now that's more suited to his skill set. And, he still carries that name value. Ryan Wingo, big time get by Texas back in the day in the recruiting portal, or as a recruit, I should say. So we're going to see that whole Texas offense, man, all eyes on them, because there's really no excuse for Steve Sarkisian and that team. You got Arch coming in possibly his final season, looking to be a top draft pick and all these weapons. And Ryan Wingo, man, you got to be one of those guys.
Yeah, and this was obviously my pick, and I think this was a good place to take him as far as, like you said, with a couple of these other guys, TJ Moore and Ryan Coleman Williams, just name value alone. I feel like 208 is a great spot to take Ryan Wingo in these projected 2027 mocks because of his overall talent and ability. And I think that there is a real chance that he kind of slips under the radar a bit because Cam Coleman transferred there. But if we think that Arch is the guy who we know that he is, Wingo is going to have a decent year regardless if he's relegated to just purely the wide receiver 2 role. And I think it doesn't necessarily matter. In fact, we've seen from this most recent draft that NFL teams do not care about production as much as they care about projection. And Ryan Wingo, you can project an offense where he can really succeed. So I'm looking forward to the Texas offense as a whole, as we'll see again here in the 3rd round.
At 210, I took Jamari Johnson, only the 2nd tight end taken so far in this draft. And you already touched on a little bit the Kenyon Sadiq replacement. Hey, man, he played with Sadiq there last year, and he's still, if you count the playoffs and everything, had over 500 receiving yards. Towards the end of their run there in the playoffs, Jamari Johnson, man, was showing out. I think that he was always the better receiver of the two. I was on record on Twitter as saying that when Kenyon Sadiq was getting all the hype, I said, man, he ain't even the best tight end on his team. Love Jamari Johnson, man, former 3-star guy that kind of had to battle his way to get to this position, transferred to Oregon. He bided his time in a system now that has Andrew Olesh there, some really good young tight ends. They're starting to pump him out, man. Oregon's doing some really good things in terms of their development of these tight ends and quarterbacks, which, we'll talk about in future episodes as well. So really like Jamari Johnson there. He's a guy that a lot of people don't know of yet. So if you don't know, now you know. Go look up some Jamari Johnson, man. Dude was incredible to end the season. Speaking of players who performed well to end the season, my guy right there, Charlie Becker. And this is a hashtag my guy right here. A lot of people knock him for being unathletic, and man, I don't know, man. You can count athleticism by how fast they run in shorts and all this stuff, but all I know is that on the football field, my man Charlie Becker has some of the best hands in this class. I would say hands down. Does not drop the football. Decent enough route runner, but he really wins above the rim, man. Like, that's to me where his athleticism shines, is that jump ball ability. It's mine. It's going to be his. And through the season, of course, he didn't get a lot of targets to start the year with Elijah Surratt there and Omar Cooper Jr. But towards the end of the season, man, they started to get this guy rolling, and he made some incredible catches in the college football playoffs. Over 3 yards per route run on the season for this dude. Just ultra efficient. And now you look at those vacated targets, and you got Nick Marsh joining this team, coming in as the transfer, and Charlie Becker profiles right there, man. And I think that, again, the way they run these route concepts, they're going to pair very well. Indiana isn't going to miss a beat. A lot of it's going to hinge on how Mr. 212 there, Josh Hoover, operates this offense. At TCU, this is a guy that you and I had been keying in on early to start the season. We liked him we liked Josh Hoover at TCU. Little errant with the football sometimes, a little bit of that big arm type of dude. Likes to grip it and rip it and get it in there and fit it into tight spaces, man. Some throws you're like, hey, Josh Hoover, don't be doing that, man. his former head coach, Sonny Dykes, took some shots at him in the press conference. He was like, we won all these games, even though our quarterback was throwing all these interceptions. And I just loved the kickback and the comment that Curt Cignetti, his new coach, said. He said, yeah, he might have. We heard those comments, but now we introduced him to his two best friends, a good defense and a run game. So if Josh Hoover can be a little more efficient, play within the offense, I think that he's going to be able to display the deep ball ability and really show off that arm. Again, national exposure, that definitely matters for draft stock, whether you want to hear it or not. Absolutely matters. So he's got a chance to really rise. And I think 212 is a pretty good spot for where he is now. But I think he's a name that a lot of dynasty guys aren't really too familiar with yet.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I love what you said about Jamari Johnson as the second tight end here, only at 210. He was definitely better than Sadiq as far as all of the metrics go. He was better when he was on the field. Sadiq obviously was taking more snaps, but he's a huge, huge riser in this upcoming draft class. So that was a great value for you. I, of course, took Charlie Becker because I knew that you wanted him. So I was like, I got to get him here at 211. I like Charlie Becker. He showed up when it mattered in Indiana last year, even with two decent wide receiver. I mean, Cooper now is first round draft pick. He's going in the first rounds of rookie dynasty drafts. Surratt unfortunately got paired with Jacoby Lane as well in Baltimore, but there's a lot of opportunity for him. But Charlie Becker was the guy who it seemed like in that late playoff run was kind of getting those clutch plays, and he was showing up. So he might not have the pure athletic ability that some of the other wide receivers in college have, but he's really proven his ability to just go up there and get it. He's one of those guys that's kind of like Denzel Boston was in this draft, where he doesn't have the pure athletic ability, but he has that contested catch ability, that long speed, deep threat ability. And if he's used in the right way, he can be made into a really good wide receiver in the NFL. And Josh Hoover is going to be the man to unlock that. He's a guy who we weren't extremely high on at Devy Dojo last year, but we've certainly floated his name before. And I think this is a great transfer for him because Cignetti has just made Mendoza into the 101 pick. So what better place to go than Indiana for Josh Hoover? And I agree. When watching his tape and when watching tape for Eric McAllister, it's like frustrating at times because he has such a good arm and he can do things that nobody else can. But he throws the ball so errantly that he makes a lot of mistakes. So he's kind of that classic gunslinger type, like the Brett Favre type, the Jameis Winston type for our younger listeners out there, who just lets it rip and just preys on his own talent to just let the ball be where it is. And a lot of times it doesn't always work out. So if he can just, hone in a little bit on his actual talent ability and make some better decisions, he could really put the ball into some tight windows. So I'm looking forward to Josh Hoover transferring to the Hoosiers. So just to recap out there, this is the second round. 201, Julian Sayin. 202, Nate Frazier. 203, Isaac Brown. 204, Trinidad Chambliss. 205, Mario Craver. 206, TJ Moore. 207, Justice Haynes. 208, Ryan Wingo. 209, Eric Singleton. 210, Jamari Johnson. 211, Charlie Becker. And 212, Josh Hoover. And then we will kick off our third round of this way too early 2027 mock draft. We have 301, Omarion Miller, the transfer wide receiver from Colorado. Your Colorado Buffaloes. I'm just joking with you. Into Arizona State. 302, Aeneas Williams, the new running back out of Notre Dame. Not necessarily new, but taking on a lot of a workload. 303, Mark Fletcher, running back Miami. 304, Drew Mestemaker, everybody's favorite non-Power 4 conference quarterback last year, now transferring to Oklahoma State. 305, Mike Matthews, wide receiver out of Tennessee. And 306, John Mateer, the other big-name quarterback in Oklahoma, who we are all very high on at the dojo coming into last year. And he started the year extremely hot, looking like the number one Heisman candidate. I believe he was the odds-on favorite for a few weeks there, and then he had an injury. Broke our heart.
Yeah, it turns out, Chris, it's pretty hard to play the quarterback position without a thumb. All these people that were just ready to throw the receipts and say, "Look, I told you he sucks." And you go out there and play SEC level competition with the messed up thumb. But it is what it is. We'll see. I think again, I feel like I've said it so many times. He has a chance to really revamp his stock. Another year in the Ben Arbuckle system, the offensive coordinator there for Oklahoma. Satania there. They got a decent crop of young weapons. So I like what they've built out there. And of course, Brent Venables led defense. I like they got the makings of a really good college football team. So we'll see. But my pick, Chris, was there at 301. This is a guy that we talked about pretty extensively with our good friend Corey P on the episode that he came on. Omarion Miller, his story has always been about injuries, never a question of the talent. There for Colorado, finally he was getting the opportunity this last season, over 800 yards, some ridiculous yards per route run numbers. Was having an incredible season. Unfortunately, went down with another injury. This season now, with Jordan Tyson going to the draft, he is transferred to Arizona State along with fellow transfer Cutter Boley at the quarterback position. This man is getting steamed up now, y'all. We got these spring viral clips going around. And Omarion Miller really looks like he could finally, again, when talent and the opportunity meet in your draft season, it could be wheels up. So we'll see. He's got another really good wide receiver there pairing too. Arizona State, low key, Chris, looks like they could be a really, really good offense. And of course, I love Kenny Dillingham, the head coach there. He's such just a bubble of positivity and really is just such a good offensive mind. I love his system. Arizona State gets a lot of exposure now for the draft, especially around these wide receivers and the skill positions there with some of these guys that have been taken in these last couple drafts. So I'm really excited for Omarion Miller, but Anais Williams, man, that's a name that I guarantee nobody in the dynasty streets are really talking about. So go ahead and talk about the guy that looks like he's got next in the Notre Dame running back room at 302.
Yeah, that's another one where maybe just from the way we did this with texting, I might have taken Mark Fletcher over him, but he was high on my sleepers list, and I was happy to just grab him here at 302. He's got that power. He doesn't necessarily have the long speed that you might see, especially from Price, but he can catch the ball. He can get in there and do all the dirty work. I think he's going to handle a workhorse load extremely well. I love what I see from him on tape, as limited as it is. I think he's going to be a plug-and-play guy for Notre Dame to just put in the running back one slot. They might want to do the same thing they did last year and put another running back as kind of like the de facto RB2. But I feel like he's going to get a bigger workload than they gave to Even Love last year just because his body can handle it, and he's proven that he's a bit of a well-rounded running back. So he's one of the guys that I don't necessarily project to be a round 1 or round 2, early draft pick in the NFL class, but I think that he's going to be a real value for somebody to take him in the mid rounds of the NFL draft and plug him in as a potential backup off the rip. And then when he gets his opportunity, he's going to really show what he's capable of. I think 2026 is going to go a long way to improving his draft stock.
No one goes to Hank's for his spreadsheets. They go for a darn good pizza. Lately, though, the shop's been quiet, so Hank decides to bring back the $1 slice. He asks Copilot in Microsoft Excel to look at his sales and costs and help him see if he can afford it. Copilot shows Hank where the money's going and which little extras make the dollar slice work. Now Hank has a line out the door. Hank makes the pizza, Copilot handles the spreadsheets. Learn more at m365copilot.com/work.
Yeah, well said. I can definitely see it. Notre Dame has a pretty crowded room, though. Like you touched on their recruiting at that position. It's exquisite, man. There's a young cat named Walton there, freshman coming in that I'm really, really excited about, who is very fast and very big. So that's my type of back. And talking about big backs, I'm looking at Mark Fletcher there at 303, Chris. Dude's underrated for whatever reason. I mean, he's not an explosive athlete, but he's on a really good offense. He's got a good body type. He's going to be your typical goal line type of back, projecting forward in the NFL. I've seen comps to Derrick Henry. I'm definitely not there, but he runs with power and he's fast enough to get big chunk plays. People need to stop sleeping on Mark Fletcher. He was a big reason why Miami was able to have that deep playoff run that they had, because it wasn't on the arm of Carson Beck. I'll tell you that right now. Now, Carson Beck might have been making some clutch plays a little at the end, doing enough with his legs, to beat Ole Miss and all that. But it was really on the back of Mark Fletcher. Just give him the ball 25 plus times a game and let the big dog roll. Man, it got them to some victories. But 304, Chris, man, I couldn't believe it. I was shaking my head going like, what is everybody doing here? Nobody's taking Drew Mestemaker. You're talking about the best story in all of college football last season. Don't want to get too deep into it, but this is a guy that was a 0-star recruit. He's played 0 snaps of varsity football in high school at the quarterback position. Linked up with Eric Morris by fate and chance. And that's a guy who recruited and coached Patrick Mahomes, Baker Mayfield, quarterbacks of that type. And look, they got together at North Texas and they made magic. That whole pretty much offensive skill position, head coach Eric Morris, all left North Texas, and now they're at Oklahoma State taking over. And look, Big 12 is going to be a great litmus test for if Drew Mestemaker can handle that leap. Like our friend Corey talked about on that last episode that we did with him, he doesn't have to prove it all this year. He will still have another year of eligibility. So he's a guy that might not even declare for 2027. He could declare in 2028. So really excited to see how he goes. Let's go ahead and show me the last 6 picks of this 3-round 2027 mock draft.
All right. We have 307, CJ Carr, quarterback out of Notre Dame. 308, Jordan Marshall, running back in Michigan. 309, KJ Duff, wide receiver, Rutgers. 310, Reed Harris, another transfer wide receiver to Arizona State. 311, Hollywood Smothers, running back, Texas. And 312, Jayden Maiava, your quarterback of the USC Trojans, who you did not select in this draft.
I did not, but I did select CJ Carr there at 307. And I had to do a double take. I was like, how did CJ Carr fall this far? No matter how you feel about him, he's a Notre Dame starting quarterback with pretty good talent. What I love about CJ Carr is that as a first-year starter for the Fighting Irish last season, CJ Carr really showed that he's got pretty good post-snap processing. It took him a little while to bake. The start of their season was the toughest part of their schedule, which is always a thing with Notre Dame, is they don't always play the most competitive schedule. But he showed me a lot of good things, and I'm looking forward to seeing more growth around him. I like the pieces that they've put around him now. They're adding Mylan Graham, Devin Fitzgerald, which is Larry Fitzgerald's son, is coming in as an incoming freshman. They're putting a lot of talent around him, and I think that this season the thought is we're going to see CJ Carr, throw the ball a little bit more, as we work in Anais Williams and all the other running backs in the rotation. Let's start to throw the ball a little bit more. I mean, Mike Denbrock, the offensive coordinator for Notre Dame, has been criticized recently for running kind of a vanilla, just basic type of offense. So really excited about him. Jordan Marshall right there at 308, Chris. That's another guy that I think doesn't get enough credit, especially for how tough and how hard he runs. Last season there for the Michigan Wolverines, he paired with Justice Haynes, and they both had a really good season. I think that he's just kind of, I don't want to say a plotter. He's got a little bit of wiggle to him, some movement, but he doesn't have like a lot of these high-end skills, which is why you kind of see his value stay where it is, even though he is ultra productive. So, but I mean, at 308, this is a good gamble on a guy like Jordan Marshall, who's got a really good production profile already. And this hasn't even, this season hasn't even happened yet, obviously.
Absolutely, yeah. And I was excited about Jordan Marshall still being there because I felt like he was a value. I also felt like CJ Carr was a value as well. I had told you that I was anticipating taking him a little bit earlier, and I just kind of thought one of you guys would take him. And Marshall was my selection. I like him a lot because he stepped in and just really killed it when Justice Haynes went down. So I felt pretty happy about taking him here at 308. I think the reason that he fell so far was because obviously Savion Hyder is like one of the most hyped up freshmen we've seen in a long time who committed to Michigan as well. So the real question is, how much are they going to split? How much are we going to see out of the true freshmen here coming up? So who knows? But honestly, last year they were both acceptable running backs. They both really dominated when they were on the field together. So we'll see what happens with Jordan Marshall here as far as the overall touch volume.
Was Reed Harris, man, for Boston College coming in. I believe he was a 3-star recruit, nothing big, but 6'5" out there, 225 pounds already. And now entering the transfer portal, they reclassified him as a 4-star entering the transfer portal and going again to the aforementioned Arizona State Sun Devils, pairing there with my guy Omarion Miller. And he's been a standout at camp. He's been getting a lot of hype, so I had to include his name here. He's going to have a lot of opportunity again, and 6'5", man, and being able to run like that at that size. I don't know how fast he is. I haven't looked at GPS tracking or any of his athletic testing data, but I mean, just watching him, you can tell he's pretty special. So very, very excited for him. And then 311 and 312, man, we could just touch on these real quick together. Hollywood Smothers is a guy that, again, I was shocked that he was here. Big time transfer going from NC State to Texas now. He's going to have a lot of opportunity. He's going to pair with Rayleigh Brown, the other running back there. And we're going to see Hollywood Brown is, I don't want to say divisive prospect, but you either hate him or you love him. Like there's no in between with this guy. And I happen to love him. I love these backs that have the long speed and can get you points quick. And that's exactly what he profiles as. He's lightning in this offense. So we'll see. Traditionally, Steve Sarkisian has had, decent success with running backs. I think a little overhyped, but going back to his USC days, man, he was always able to provide a really good run scheme for us. So I'm really excited to see Hollywood Smothers. I know that you're a big fan too. Jayden Maiava, Chris, I don't want to touch on too long, man. Jayden Maiava, if he could take the next step, I could see him being a decent, like late day 2 type of guy in the NFL and somebody that you're taking as a developmental stab on your dynasty rosters. He does a little too, man, Jayden Maiava will piss me off, man, as a Trojan fan sometimes, but he's a really good quarterback. He is. I'm just not entirely sold on him as an NFL level starter, right? I think he could be a decent backup. He plays in a really good offensive system. We're going to see this is going to be a big year for him because his most experienced wide receiver is Tanu Hines. We got a bunch of freshmen coming in for USC, Booby Feaster, Trent Mosley, Mark Bowman, all these new names that are coming in as freshmen for USC. Jayden Maiava is, the big dog. He's the leader there. So if he can elevate the team around him to a level of success where they're winning games with this young roster, I might change my tune on Maiava, excuse me. And, traditionally, Chris, I'm pretty hard on my Trojans. So I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add about Jayden Maiava or Hollywood Smothers, but.
Yeah, I mean, you're the opposite of me, right? I always have rose-colored glasses when it comes to my Nittany Lions, and you're always hard on your USC Trojans. I like Maiava as far as his release. I think there's the bones of a decent quarterback hiding within him. I don't know that I would have taken him here at 312, but at the last pick of the draft, it's like get your guy mode, right? So Ben took that pick. He plugged in Jayden Maiava. I don't hate it, but he's like the, 8th or 9th quarterback that we've taken in this draft. So just a Mr. Irrelevant here, but definitely has some potential to climb up in the NFL draft if he has a decent year, especially as you mentioned with all those wide receivers that are inexperienced around him. Let's see if he can elevate them. Hollywood is a guy who, if you listen to the dojo, I've loved Hollywood for a long time. He's just slippery, man. I've called him buttery smooth. I've called him slippery. Anything that makes it seem like he's lathered in oil while he's running. He doesn't want to get contacted, and he does everything he can to avoid that contact, but he's not afraid of it either. He can really just chug through guys whenever they're, head on with him. So I like the opportunity here, the transfer to the Longhorns. I was really excited about this. However, he does have a couple other running backs lurking as well, as far as like Rayleigh Brown, and he's the transfer coming in. So we'll see how much opportunity he gets. But if he gets the same kind of workload he got last year at NC State, it's wheels up for him. I'm excited to take him here at the end of the 3rd round. We appreciate you guys for checking in. I will really quickly recap the 3rd round here. 301, Omarion Miller. 302, Aeneas Williams. 303, Mark Fletcher. 304, Drew Mestemaker. 305, Mike Matthews. 306, John Mateer. 307, CJ Carr. 308, Jordan Marshall. 309, KJ Duff. 310, Reed Harris. 311, Hollywood Smothers. And 312, Jayden Maiava. And that is your Devy Dojo way too early 2027 rookie draft mock.
Oh man, wasn't that fun, Chris? Like 36 players just rattled off like that.
Fun.
And I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Again, this is the first one on our new independent YouTube channel. So if you learn anything from this, if you just enjoyed the content, all I simply ask is that you like the video, you leave a comment, and you subscribe. We will have the link to our free Devy Dojo Discord pinned in the comments right there, probably at the bottom of the description. We're going to have it all over the place. So if you want to join this fast rising community, man, of just straight up ball knowers, man, we have a good time. We're talking trash to each other, during college football season too. During the NFL regular season, we have a lot of fun in there. So if you want to be a part of that action, join us on some blue chip mock drafts, get some early access to some fun stuff dropping from blue chip. you got to be sure to join the Devy Dojo Discord. And again, if you listen to this audio on the Player Profiler episode, you are only getting the audio. You need to go and search Devy Dojo and find us. We're on Spotify, at least. You will have the video complement as well. I do once again thank you all for joining us and look forward to all the next content. We will be returning next week with another episode. But until then, remember to trust your training.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Hey, Mama. Thanks for making all my favorite recipes.
Hi, Ma. Thanks for your unfiltered advice.
Hi, Mom. Thanks for always being by the phone.
Hey, Mom. Happy Mother's Day.
When you ship UPS Air at the UPS Store, your items arrive on time or your money back. Guaranteed at no extra cost. Exclusively at the UPS Store U.S. retail locations. Visit the upsstore.com/airshipping for full details. Terms and conditions apply. Send your Mother's Day gifts at the UPS Store and we'll get your gratitude there on time.